I sit and wonder about the ways that humanity could deal with the problems that we face, considering what tools humanity has at its disposal, and considering our history. For what history we do have a record of. Seems like every single time humanity gets to a place like this, it's war. It's killing. And I get it. At some point, good people rise up. You got to fight. Good people die. Bad people die. And even in that fighting, sometimes the bad wins over the good. But it always creates the same results. In every way, it always creates the same results. And I just have to wonder, and even think to myself, most of us clearly don't have too much of a frame of reference for resolving, fixing, neutralizing, ripping out at the root, whatever it is, combination of all, the types of problems that we face without substantial use of violence to the point where blood is flowing, in the proverbial streets, literally, metaphorically, or whatever. Why is it always war? And why do we have to kill each other in large groups and large numbers to resolve the issues that we have? I guess it lends itself to the fact that the psychopath has been so in control of this world for as long as it has. And since that's a whole group of people that function with a playbook of life, a rule book of life, if you could call it that, that is unlike anything moral human beings, even unawakened moral human beings, good human beings would function with. So we have what seems to be two wholly different types of beings that animate a meat suit. And the ones that have no morals, the ones that function with no guidebook of morality and ethics and anything like that, those are the ones that we face. They think in ways that we don't. They behave in ways that we don't. They rationalize in ways that we don't. They do just about everything but basic human functions in ways that good people don't. Because they think in the ways that they do. Because they strategize in the ways that they do. We find ourselves at a significant disadvantage because our minds quite literally don't think like that. Some people have to struggle to even imagine thinking like that. And since these people function and operate from the dark side, when you start really looking at it at a fundamental level, what these people do to children and have done to children throughout the history that we know, no degree of depravity, deception, deceit, betrayal, and all that other kind of stuff is off the table. That's an awesome enemy. And we could certainly go to battle with it, guns a-blazing, swords out, whatever that is, however that manifests, and create, something. But it's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of blood, a lot of death, a lot of turmoil, a lot of good people dying, a lot of bad people dying. And at the end of it, there's still going to be a lot of good people and a lot of bad people. And who knows which side is going to be in control. So be that as it may, putting that train of thought on pause, when you contemplate the fact that we do, or the theory, the hypothesis, whatever category fits, affect the field that affects the particle that affects matter, which is our reality. Are there things that humanity has not engaged in on a mass scale, microcosmic scale, whatever, in the realms of that stuff? The stuff that people think is woo-woo foofy, unquantifiable, yada, yada, yada. Science is showing some evidence of this stuff, substantive evidence of this stuff. Yet there are still people who doubt. I'm still unsure. I guess what I'm thinking is we have to think in a different way and find solutions, how do I say this, from a different perspective of thought and problem resolution. Or we're going to experience another cycle that's very similar to every other past cycle that never really works out too well for humanity. Even though we remain, and when the cycle's done, it would appear to me that each time a cycle happens, we wind up in more of a degraded state, those that are left. The theory seems to fit, and it almost seems like it's more of a hypothesis because I think there's some evidence for that. Could having a big love-in change the world? I don't know. If the energy we put out affects the field, it affects the particle, it affects matter, you never know. Mass meditations, or other types of things that are in the realm of things that most of us wouldn't consider because we don't have a frame of reference to know that it would work, have an impact, induce some sort of meaningful change. Methods that include, for instance, nonviolence, if it's possible. As a human being and as a man, I would never take violence off the table as a necessary tool when all else is lost and you have no choice. If you're facing certain death, you're probably going to want to take a few of them out before you go, or as many as you can. But I just see that if we do this or allow this to happen in ways that it's always unfolded for humanity before, we're going to get some version of the same thing that we've always gotten. Another Dark Ages and a different version of it, but still the same type of shit. The body of humanity could have a profound impact on that. But since we are so unexposed to some of the underlying or foundational principles of the world, how we interact with the field, the world, the environment, and how we could actually affect it, since we are so largely kept ignorant of that, and the evil on the planet is in full awareness of that, in as much as it needs to be to do, for instance, what it's done to the planet now, with all that we are capable of, with all of the types of sparks within us, with all of the types of levels of intelligence and creativity in each and every one of us individually, I'm kind of surprised that at this stage of the game, we're not seeing more creative people coming up with ideas that aren't just stupid, that are profoundly different, that give humans some insight into some ways or methods to resolve some of our problems, and it's not resolve our social problems, because our social problems are nothing more than symptoms of the core problem. I'd say 90% of them. I refuse to believe even awakened beings wouldn't have some sort of social problems without the plague of the Jew upon the earth. So it's kind of interesting and frustrating and a few other things when you want to think in a profoundly different way to try to find resolutions to problems that plague our communities, our world, all that stuff, yet have no actual frame of reference for the types of things that can be done, that can create, induce, motivate that type of change, because we don't see a lot of it on the planet. So where does the human being go and explore to discover such things, to bring them back from places of knowledge? How does the human do that? Do you got to drink some ayahuasca? Do you have to eat 6 grams of mushrooms, 12 grams of mushrooms? Do you have to meditate and go and find the Akashic records? It's like, wow, there's some serious governors within the human being. Really there is, because when you realize that, okay, we're at a place where some profoundly different thinking, some creative, productive thinking and ideas relevant to the problems that we have, you put the collective intelligence on something like that. Think about it. How do you get the collective intelligence on something like that? Because when you look at the microcosmic body of Jews and how they've been able to use their collective intelligence to their benefit to achieve global domination, or they're on the brink of it. I think it's more already done and we just have to realize it. But there's a lot more of us with a lot more will if we used it, with a lot more collective intelligence if we used it, with a lot more ability to influence the field if we used it. And you can't use anything that you're not aware of, at least not knowingly. To change this world, you really need to have some sort of a revolutionary thinking, manifest some sort of revolutionary idea, concept that can spread into the collective. And unfortunately, I see too many males out there that are motivated with violence, tough guy, being a soldier, a warrior, a marine, a killer, an assassin, a sniper, a hunter, just all of these things that are all rooted in these types of things. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess if you want a war culture, yeah, I guess if you're going to continue to run them in cycles of war and keep exposing them to this, and yeah, you'll have lots of motivated warrior, killer, fucking beings that'll go and do unspeakable things to their own fucking kind. When you think about the collective combined intelligence of a few and how much of an impact it can have, think of the cabal that's been working and look at what they've put together. A lot of resources, but using their collective will, their collective intelligence, the collective agenda, look at what they've been able to do. What could humanity do if it embraced, somehow got that idea and decided to flip the script? If we don't begin to consider these types of things, put them into the collective consciousness in some way for somebody else that might have more genius to grab that idea and fucking spin on it for a while and figure something out. You know, it goes into the philosophy. I may not wake up the world or change the world, but I might spark the mind or the minds that do. And if that's all I manage to do while I'm in this world, I guess I'm good with that.